Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Even People Show. I'm your host, Martin Matthews, and boy, are we gonna have some fun today. Woo! Yeah, I can't help myself. I had to swing, I had to poke the bear. I had to swing for the fences, right? But before we get going, I'm gonna run the intro, and then when I come back, we're just gonna jump head first into this thing, all right? Now, welcome to the Even People Show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Mark Matthews, and thank you for being with me today. Bernard Allen, bless up yourself, bright and early, my youth. So, check this. If this is your first time joining the show, howdy do? I'm your host, Mark Matthews, and on the show, we talk about all kinds of shenanigans. Usually, I like to think of myself personally as Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, boldly going where no one has gone before. And tonight, definitely that's what I'm doing tonight. Well, before we get into it, if this is your first time, I'm an author of a book called Love Life Confrontation Expressions, among many other things. It's a book of poetry and it is all kinds of fun and excitement, right? We have Miss Shakima Ford in the house today. Greetings, my dear. Bless up yourself. We have Mbai in the house today. Bless up yourself as well, my dear. So tonight we're gonna talk about where's my crawler. Tonight we're gonna talk about PMSing. PMSing is what we're gonna talk about today. And why I decided to go for this, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes men have to deal with this stuff, and why should we though? And as I get into it, I have a couple disclaimers to make. My first disclaimer: Prendergast, Hayden, bless up yourself, my youth. Every time. Um, I want to say that I have a couple disclaimers. First disclaimer: obviously, I've never had a period. Clearly, okay. I have no first-hand knowledge of this. I've been married a few times. I've dated several women over the years, and have had to deal with it secondhand. Every man out there has had to deal with it secondhand, one way or one time or the other, right? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it is, what the actual characteristics are, what men get blamed for that has may or may not have anything to do with it. But we're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna have some fun with it. All right. So let's get right into it. So the narrative I put out there before I got going was have you ever felt moody, irritable, sad, and had no idea what triggered it? Or maybe you were a little sensitive. Yes, there is science to support the theory that the mood swings and everything else that comes with it are biological. They're not just made up. Women are not going crazy when they say these things are happening. These things are, in fact, happening. But like most women know when their period is on the way, is what studies say. Not because of the physical changes necessarily, but because of the subtle changes in their own behavior. Now, some are more keen to it than others, some not so much. Some get surprised every time halfway through. Now, PMS or premenstrual syndrome is a condition that affects women's hormonal balance and thereby affecting their moods. Okay, so let's get into first of all the science behind all this, right? We're going to talk about the science behind it before we get into it, because I can't be the only guy out there that thinks sometimes women just overplay their hand when it comes to these things. And before I even get into any of that, I'm going to point out first of all the legitimacy of it, the absolute valid things that happen, right? And we go from there. Okay, so let's start with this. Women's hormones go through a variety of changes leading up to and during their periods. Okay, these fluctuations are what scientifically account for the changes in their behavior. Right now, you have different phases that a period goes through. Every woman or some woman? If I think every woman, unless they're some part of the LGBTQ, tread lightly. There's a knife coming for me. Okay, I'll make sure I tread lightly. Now, there are different phases that the period goes through, or that a woman goes through hormonally at this time of the month. Now, one of them is called the first one is called the follicular phase, and this is the happy phase. This is usually like 2 weeks leading up to the period. Um, there's a particular hormone that increases. I don't want to try to pronounce it and call it wrong, but they're high in energy. They're in a good mood. It's like they're superwoman. Their inner superwoman kicks in. Yeah, that's 2 weeks leading up to. Right when they get to it, the ovulatory phase kicks in, and at this time, some women actually have an increased sex drive. Sure, men would like that quite a bit. They have an increased sex drive. They have a higher pain tolerance, and they generally feel more attractive in general. So that's a good thing. I need to make note of that right before. Okay, I need to jot down some dates here. And the other one, which is the miserable one, the luteal phase, luteal phase, is the hormone progesterone increases during that time, and it gives right to the moodiness, the feeling of feeling stressed, and that comes on right before the period or right on that first day, when a lot of women experience the most bleeding, the most discomfort on that day one. There is a hormone that increases specifically at that time, and that is what accounts for this on a chemical level. All right. Shakima Ford is saying it can be a very crucial time for some. You're one of them. Yeah. And I get that. Like I'm saying, what we're going to talk about first is the validity of it all. The fact that this is real. It happens. It's legit. Okay. Now, some of the other issues that and let's not call them issues. Let's call them symptoms. Some of the other symptoms that women experience during this period of time, and they can range from mild to absolutely extreme, include depression. Um, Especially people with a history of depression during this time, they have that increased feeling of depression, and sometimes some of them really they have to tread lightly, very lightly during that time. Anemia is another concern due to the heavy bleeding. Of course, days 1 and 2 is usually when this happens for most women, and some people are already right on that line for being anemic, and it sometimes leads to issues during that time. It has also been said that asthma, women that are asthmatic, the symptoms for their asthma worsens during that week or during that time leading up to. They have to make sure that they're walking with their inhalers and everything that they need. Now, other things are the more common things, the one everybody is familiar with. The cramping, the bloating, are two of them. You have women that experience migraines, sometimes debilitating migraines, even. Um, Debilitating nausea is another thing that some women have to go through during this time of the month. Then, of course, the most popular probably with among men is the getting angry is one of them. Bad mood swings is one of them. Um, an increased risk of seizures and anxiety. People that have seizures or have some condition that causes them to have seizures during this time, they're at a heightened risk of that simply because of the hormonal imbalance that the body is going through. I want to pause here and say, don't I sound like I know what I'm talking about? I'm proud of myself so far. Maybe not get in too much trouble here. Um, they even experience higher or lower voice pitches. Actually, that's a symptom. I didn't know about that one. Um, Sometimes they have habits or they don't have habits. They have a harder time dealing with habits that they have. For example, you're going on that diet, or you have your exercise routine, or even if you're trying to quit smoking during the period times leading up to, before, and immediate after, they have a harder time doing those things, getting up and exercising, sticking to their diet, or even quitting smoking. Now, another one is feeling hot, which is usually a menopause symptoms. Some women experience that during their periods as well. The whole feeling of feeling scatterbrained, like you're having a blonde moment. You can't multitask, you can't focus. These are all legit diagnoses of side effects of a woman experiencing a period, or these are side effects or spin-off of the hormonal imbalances that typically comes with. Okay. um Bathroom habits change, increase UTIs around this time. Let me see what Hayden is saying here. Hayden is saying uh some women with fibroids have a rough time too. Yes, this is true. Some women with fibroids do have a rougher time than normal at that time. So you see, and these you see the guys are chipping in and they're saying it is legit, women. We're not saying it is not legit. We're saying that it is legit. Nasham, bless up yourself, my youth. Um, bless up yourself. Don't know. So some women have acne. They have breakouts during that time as well. Back and muscle aches are also common. That's when they start calling hubby to come rub. They start rub that, right? um Decrease sex drive, and I can imagine, like, who wants to, probably like a splishy splash. But anyways, constipation and sensitivity to light are gonna round us out here. And there are many more. There are many more. The list actually goes on and on. And these are legitimate side effects caused by hormonal imbalance that women experience be, um, because of periods. And I want to take a second here and highlight my breast cancer month bands that I'm wearing. I have three of them. And this is breast cancer month. And if you don't know, now you know. I'm all about, you see, I'm on your side, women. I am. All right, now we're gonna look at something real quick. We're gonna look at some things that you should never say, men. Things you should never say. Things that are gonna get you in trouble every time if you put these things out there. Now, at the woman's time of the month, yeah. So you say something like, "Ew, no one wants to hear about that." You're probably gonna get slapped. And after the period done, you're not getting none that time neither. Uh, of course, I support breast cancer, my dear. That's the must. I got my bands here. Breast Cancer Month and all. I'm the ambassador at my job. Self nominated, even. All right. Another thing you don't want to say, men, is you're being irritable or you're being emotional. Women don't want to hear that when they are being emotional. Okay. Don't say stuff like that. That gets you in trouble. Come to think of it, you do look bloated today. Dude, you say something like that, you're putting yourself in trouble. Just don't go there. Don't go there. Now the thing is, why are you complaining so much? Doesn't this happen every month? And I admit I've been tempted to think that I've thought that myself. I've never said it. I don't want to get slapped, but men have to ask these questions. You know what I mean? Doesn't this happen every month? Why don't you have a plan in place for this? Why? Anyways, let me step back off the line here. I just stepped on it a little bit. Oh, you're still on your period? That's another thing guys say. Oh, you're still on your period? Yeah. Yeah, I figured. I'm getting the eyes. I could tell I was on the line right then. I'm back off the line now. um, Another one is, so you're PMSing, you want special treatment? Those are the, do not ever say those things, guys, please. Don't ever say those things. Do not ever say those things. Okay? So, if you are a woman out there and you are experiencing any of the long list of things that we just mentioned, what we're saying, what we're starting off saying is that, hey, we know, we understand this is a chemical hormonal imbalance, and to a large extent you really don't have control over the symptoms that you experience. And some of them are legitimately debilitating, some of them last for days, some of them are really, really life altering for that period of time. Okay, and I get it, and we get that. But here's what I have for you. Here's what I have for you. I have for you some things that you can do that can reduce some of these effects. Okay, here comes the shade. Here comes the shade. There is no shade, ma'am. There is no shade. Anywho, um, eat healthy. Eat healthy is one of them. A balanced diet. Avoid a whole bunch of salt. The salt will make you feel more bloated. It'll make you look more bloated. Try to plan out your meals during this time of the month and eat a healthy, balanced meal. Okay? Drink plenty of water is another thing that you can do that can help reduce your symptoms or make them milder. Avoid alcoholic beverages and reduce your caffeine intake are things that can also help reduce the symptoms. So you see, these are, and some of these are just basic things. And if you don't know now, you know, because so we all have our habits. You know what I mean? I used to go to Wawa quite a bit every morning because I like the Colombian. It's not the Colombian. They had the Cuban coffee that I like at Wawa. Now I go to Racetrack because I like the Guatemalan coffee that they have there, and I drink quite a bit of it. My dentist told me I need to get something for it because it's affecting my teeth now, right? So I get it. You have your habits, you have your things that you do, you like to do them, and you do them. What I'm saying is, at that time of the month, you can do some of these things and they can reduce the effects that you have. Don't we need the alcohol to take the edge off? Well, the alcohol might take the edge off, but here's the thing. The other things that the alcohol is going to do is going to exacerbate the situation. It's like, I remember, can I say this? I can't say this. No, I can't say this. But it's like when you have chicken pox, I hear, and you know, you have the itchy scratchy, and you're tempted to go shower because you think showering is going to make you feel better, and you shower and it just makes the situation worse. That's kind of like what the drinking the alcohol to take the edge off. No, I'm not going to say. Okay. Another thing is exercise regularly helps your mood. Exercise regularly because it helps your mood is something else you can do. Try to get enough sleep during that time as well. That also helps to reduces the symptoms. Um, Smoking or not smoking, for that matter, can help reduce your symptoms as well. And last but not least, birth controls. Birth control can help to regulate your period, to regulate the symptoms. It can help to lessen the symptoms. So if that's an option for you, you can use that option. Okay. Now, those are the semantics of it. Those are the things that you can do, the things you shouldn't say. Those are the symptoms that a lot of women go through. So now we're going to get into it. Now, which one should I say first? Okay. Okay, I'm going to say this one first, and let's throw this one out there. And you women can tell me, what have you blamed your period on that had nothing to do with your period? Women. What have you at some point blamed you on your period that had nothing to do with your period? And I'm saying that because men think that a lot of times women blame a lot of things on their periods that has nothing to do with their periods. It might be your time, you might be on your period, but you just use it as a vehicle to get what you want. Even if you can find an alternative or find a way out, you you weaponize your period. So here's my question. Two questions I have. What have you blamed on your period? I'm saying women blame things on their period that has nothing to do with their period. Does anybody say nay? And I also believe women weaponize their periods. They weaponize it in a sense that they use it to get their significant others or whomever else to do things for them. Yes, weaponize your period. Yes, weaponize. Yeah, okay. Answer the comment to the comment there. Weaponize. Yes, weaponize your period. You use it as a weapon against a man to either get what you want, put him in the doghouse unnecessarily, just make him walk a tightrope unnecessarily, just for some reason make his life miserable because your life is miserable. Are we saying women don't do that? Are we saying nobody out there does that? I think it's done. I think it happens. I think women weaponize their periods, and I don't think they should. I think what they should do is employ some of the examples that I gave here that are things that you can do to reduce the symptoms instead of weaponizing. Yeah. Now, another thing I have for you is, should mood swings be checked? Should mood swings be checked? Think about it. You're with someone, your significant other. They're aware that it's your time. It's you're on your period. They're aware that you're more moody and that you get more moody typically at that time. Should they check you when the mood gets out of control, or should it be a more of a be understanding, be supportive? And if that is the answer, how much of that is okay? Is there a limit to that? Is there no limit to that? Or should it be checked? Should somebody actually tell you when you're tripping as a result of the PMSing? Nobody's answering. Okay, so we're gonna go with my responses. Yes, I think you should be checked. I think irrespective of the fact that you are in fact going through something, and there are things that can be done about it, and the fact that it's like it would be like this. I have somebody at the job that messaged me like 2 days ago asking for a day off because it's their birthday. And I'm like, dude, you didn't know it was your birthday? Like, did it just sneak up on you? You're like, surprise, it's your birthday. No, it didn't just sneak up on you. You have your birthday the same month of the same year every year. And in the same way, once you're on that, especially if you're on birth controls, your period typically comes pretty clockwork at the same time of the month. If you know, and if you know that this is when it's gonna come, if you understand how your period works and what your symptoms are, why can you not prepare for it and lessen the effects that you have as a result of it? Iconic advisor, bless up yourself. Everybody saying me never would weaponize. Okay. One person said they no weaponize. Somebody else say no one that does not have a uterus should ever track or check someone that does. Okay. Should never track or check someone that does. But here's the thing. What if they're tracking you in order to take on the extra patience that they're gonna need? What if they're tracking you because they know they should, like someone suggested before, take their extra dose of medicine to calm themselves down to deal with your hormonal changes that you're gonna go through? You know what I mean? What if your husband, your significant other, needs to be just as thoroughly aware of when your period comes so that he can make sure he's a little more patient, make sure he doesn't take the things that you're saying seriously because they're not serious, because he knows that that time of the month, every that time of the month that he's accidentally stumbles upon, you want to kick him out, throw him in the doghouse, and accuse them of things they don't do. um and then try not track. Reading is fundamental. Okay, I'm being checked myself on my own show. What's happening here? But what I'm saying is, isn't it in their best interest to be as aware as you are, as of when it is, so that they can respond accordingly as well, right? Isn't that a thing? Isn't that what they should be doing, right? Now, and here's the thing too. Like I was saying before, if you know that this is the time, why can't you be more deliberate about it? Is this whole PMSing and the spin-offs, the side effects, the mood swings and all that, which we identified, some of it can be, there are things that can be done to help to reduce some of the symptoms. Should women be more deliberate about it? Should you plan for it? Should you make sure that you're not halfway through tearing somebody's head off because you're on your period, and now you're realizing, oh wait, like, you know what I mean? So that's what I was talking about when I'm talking about weaponizing it. It's now being used essentially as a weapon. Other people are being negatively affected by it when it is something that you're aware of. And if you, all right, so I did a couple Google searches, and from my experience being a man that has lived with women, um, you and you can learn about it. They're well documented cases of what can be done, what should be done, what to avoid, what to double down on at these times. There are things out there that can be done. So if we know that these are the case, why is it that every month some women are still going through the same things? And we're not talking about the bloating, we're not talking about the nausea, we're not talking about any of the other physical manifestations of on flow. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about the behavioral ones that I think to some extent, even in spite of the hormonal imbalance, are they manageable? Or are we saying they're just not manageable at all, and you're just a victim of this of circumstance? I don't, I don't, we all are aware of it. You don't think all women are aware of it? And if they are not, why aren't they? If they are not, why aren't they? And especially if it's somebody that has, you know, significant mood swings, like terrible mood swings up and down and around, if there is something that you can do that can help your situation, why aren't you aware of that? Why are you going around every month um, potentially negatively affecting the people around you because of this when it's manageable? You know what I mean? Um, Most times you don't realize it. You think you are behaving normally when your headphones are on. And okay, I get that. I get that. Cassandra is saying a lot of times you don't realize that it's happening. It's almost like when you are wearing your headphones, somebody says something to you, and you're shouting the response back, and in your own head you're responding normally, but to the person that you're talking to, you're shouting at them. Okay, I could get that, but my thing is, even if that happens, and that happens one, two, three, five, 10 times, how is it that umpteen-year old at this point, you are still stumbling into it? If you know that you are a person that has really, all right, so look at it this way. Look at it this way. If you know that you're a person that have really bad cramps, really bad migraines, really bad something, and you have to go to the doctor and get an injection, because I know people that have had to, every month they have to go to the doctor and get an injection. If you're one of those people, don't you have an appointment set to go get the injection? Don't you make sure you have medication at home for the serious cramps, or something that something that makes you not as nauseous or something, don't you have those medication in hand? So if you can plan for those things, why don't you plan for the mood swings? If you know that mood swings are a symptom of your period, if you know that that is one of the things that happens to you, and it happens every month like clockwork, why can't you plan for it? Why can't you look for the things that are out there that can be done, that can help you and help yourself? That's what I'm saying. Why is it that you are going through month after month, and the people around you are now victims, let's call them that, of your PMSing when it's manageable? Um, Iconic advisor is saying my sons are already aware at 13 and 16 that this time of the month mom is probably going to be more emotional, and don't eat her chocolate until after. They're extra careful to serve me hot beverages. You see, now, all right, but and that's fine, and that's fine, and that's good on them. That is good on those two boys, that they're learning that this is a symptom of some women, right? And that's great. But here's the thing: are as long as you are aware, so you have the chocolate then. Okay, so you have the chocolate. Maybe the chocolate helps with whatever your symptoms are. Maybe it helps with your mood. Maybe it does something, and that's fine. And that is the point. And you already said it as well, that not all women are aware. I'm saying that not being aware is not an excuse anymore. I'm saying there's too much information out there. You're two Google searches away from finding the information you need. If you do have these things, and it can tell you everything to do, there are 800 hotlines you can call, and there's help out there that you can get. So why are you going through every month still stumbling through, negatively affecting folks around you because of the emotional imbalance that you're experiencing during your period, when this is a manageable condition? Right? You see, I'm not an unreasonable guy. No way I would come on here and talk all crazy. I think these are legitimate things. And I think that if you're out there and you're watching the show and you're one of these women, you probably should check that out and be more deliberate about it. Be more deliberate about it. Be more deliberate from the 2 weeks leading up to it. When the superwoman vibe kicks in, the 2 weeks prior, and that high energy kicks in, then you know that what's gonna come after. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. Take appropriate action, and do what needs to get done. Like mechanic advisor said, the victims can also be aware and be understanding and caring without being judgmental. I absolutely agree. I pointed that out earlier. That is definitely a thing that men can do. You can be aware of the time of the month that this happens yourself, and know that you should be a little bit more patient, and know that you should not take some of the things that is said as seriously as you probably would under other circumstances, because you're factoring in that this is a byproduct of, this is not the actual thing, this is a byproduct of the thing, right? This is not what the actual person is thinking or feeling. It is just the hormonal imbalance that is talking, right? And don't give it more credit than it needs to, because think about it. There are people out there who have arguments every month. That time of the month, they have arguments, and they can't realize that all the arguments are centered around that time of the month. You can't do that. And if it is something that where the behaviors are extreme, you can go about and ruin your relationship during that part. So you ruin your relationship because of a mood swing that you had. And when the mood swings back, then what? Or if the person is not considerate or understanding, then what? You see what I'm saying? So I think we have to be more deliberate about it, because it can ultimately affect our life and affect your lives negatively. So why leave it a chance? I try to be quiet as much as I can, drink my Malta, eat my chocolate, and mind my business. Okay. Um, Tell us, how do you feel during this time, men? Well, I'm telling you, men, sometimes we feel like we're being, women have weaponized their periods against us. We feel that way. because you have a shopping list for that period. Okay, that's great. But that sounds like you are one of the people that are deliberate, and I think that that is what every woman out there needs to do, is be deliberate about their periods, especially if they have those big mood swings. You cannot affect you can There are things that can be done to lessen the symptoms. Do them, practice them, exercise them. Oh, the other men here, they are gonna speak up. If you're out there, speak up. The lady asked, um, what did she ask? Her question was, tell us how you feel during that time. All right, here come Hayden. Hayden is saying, we feel like we're walking on eggshells. There you have it. Eggshells. He feels like he's walking on eggshells because here's the thing. Even if and when we identify that this is what is happening, we still can't. You women are still the ones that have to make the changes that needs to be made. Serious? What do you mean seriously? Of course, seriously, he feels like he's walking on eggshell. We all feel like we're walking on eggshells because here's what we're saying. Here's what we're saying, Iconic Advisor. We're saying that we can do nothing and still be guilty of something. Of course, you're walking on eggshell. You can say something you would say at any given time. You're at home doing what you normally be doing, and all of a sudden, you're getting a bunch of rage texting, or you're getting a bunch of a whole bunch of behavior that is not normal or wouldn't have occurred had it not been that time when you really didn't do anything to award that behavior, right? So yes, you have to walk on eggshells. um I kind of got advice, those eggshells are too loud during that time. Yeah, eggshells. Eggshells is pretty much what it is. I think he summed it up pretty nicely. We do have to walk on eggshells because, you know, sometimes y'all are just really unreasonable at that time. And here's what we're saying. This is the whole come to Jesus here now. Some of these things are avoidable. Not avoidable altogether, but there are things that can be done to lessen the impact of some of these things. And women, you need to do the things that can be done to help yourself. And it's all doing, help us, right? Um, exactly my point, because y'all feel they are not, necessarily because it is. You see, I say, why don't we just do the things that make us all live in harmony? You know what I mean? Why can't we all just live in harmony? You know, let's just do that. What do you mean? Where are the ladies? Iconic Advisor. What are you saying here? Are you saying that you don't think that that is what happened? That is what happens. That is exactly what happens. And we don't have a choice, because what are you going to do? 'Cause here's what. Okay, remember what was said before. It is like when you are wearing headphones and somebody says something to you and you shout the response, not realizing that you are shouting. It is that same scenario. You women are the ones with the headphones on shouting at us, men, not realizing that you're shouting at us. And we're saying, hey, why are you shouting at me? I'm not shouting. Why are you shouting at me? And you're still shouting, not realizing that you're shouting. And we're saying, take off one of the headphones at least, so that you can hear what's happening and hear the volume of what's happening around you, so you can stop the shouting. Yeah. I had to reflect on this. I think I'm fine being called out, if I'm acting a certain way. But how about men say, um, when you do this, it make me feel like XXX, so we don't feel attacked. Well, true, communication can help. Communication on both sides of the coin can help. Um, Absolutely, I agree. No, no, no rebuttals to that one. Yes, communication is there. Communication will help when men clearly explain what is happening. But you see, at the same time, too, it is saying that is why compromise is important. It is. Compromise is absolutely important. But we have to realize too, though, women. And even to the point that Vimbai made, we have to realize too that if you are saying, 'cause we're talking about emotions here, and we're talking about how emotions affect behavior, is a principle that is a premise that we're using to make the points that we're making, right? Now, when you say something that is emotionally charged to a man, and you get an emotional response, then you get an emotional response. You see what I'm saying? So I think everybody in the equation really have to be aware of what is taking place, because you cannot come off with the emotional response. What if he's just as unaware as you? If you're not taking steps to lessen your own impact, why should he be the one that's now responsible and be the bigger person or whatever, and know how to respond when you are responding? If you make a if and you know, when you're involved with somebody, when you love somebody, that's the person that can say something that can cut you the deepest and can hurt you the most. So everybody, there has to be, like we've established, there has to be some kind of compromise, yes, but at the same time, we also, both people in the equation, have to be responsible as well with the things that we do and say around that time. Well, yes, offer to run a warm bath, back rub, breakfast in bed, and don't stay away. No, we don't want to stay away, but nobody wants to feel like they're dealing with a bunch of foolishness either. And remember, you should know when your cycle is more than the man. And if you don't want, you are reacting to it, and then he reacts to that. I'm not saying the two wrongs go make a right, but we all have to be aware. Maybe that needs to be a conversation that people in relationships have, and make a note of it. Put a note on the fridge, like the photo that I used for the flyer of the event, had a lady standing up with our period in our hand, our pad in our hand, and the date mark off on the calendar. Maybe you need to do that on your fridge. Put a calendar on your fridge and mark out the period week on there, so that everybody around knows when it is, and what behaviors are going to be conducive to, and what behaviors are not going to be conducive to a homogeneous existence at that time. Yes, for the man. Oh no, we'd never ask guys to compromise while PMSing. That would be very insensitive of us, right? Very insensitive of us. Was that sarcasm? All right. But I hope somebody out there hears what I'm saying. All right, she agreed. So I guess we're good. I hope somebody out there hears what I'm saying and realize that if something can be done, do something. If something can be done, you cannot affect some of the physical things that happen. I mean, the cramps, the bloating. It is what it is. But from the emotional standpoint, there are things that can be done that can help to lessen the blow, that can help to lessen the effects that it has, and ultimately can help you have a smoother transition throughout. All right. There you go, Mr. Matthews. All right. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the ball game. That's the ball game. That is the ball game. So before we go, I have to read some poetry for y'all today. And the poetry I'm going to read for you, obviously, is called Emotional. Emotional. I'm going to read Emotional. Should I read Emotional? I should read Emotional. We were talking about emotions. I have emotional. I have emotionless. I have emotions. Which one should I read? Emotional or emotions? Let me see what emotions says. I don't know. I don't know. Let's start with emotional. I'm going to read emotional for y'all before we bounce. And like I said, if you heard the show and there's something out there that you can do to really help your relationship, is really what it would ultimately equals. If there's something out there that you heard that you realize, okay, yeah, that's me, and you can change it to positively affect yourself during that time, your relationship during that time, your significant other, your home life during that time, and moving forward, do that. You know what I mean? And that was the ultimate goal here, even though we were talking about PMSing. All right. So check this. We're going to read emotions, or emotional is what we're reading, because we were talking about emotions. Emotional says it's like a scent, it's like the scent of perfume that lingers long after she's gone. It's like that inside voice that whispers, sometimes faded, but never gone. It's like a spark that lights a flame, creating a fire you can't contain, or raindrops that induce a flood. So emotional is this love. Like an image you can't erase, it transcends time and space, like a cipher to a code, unlocked to engage the mode. It's like a walk before a run, the trigger of a gun, the potential made kinetic, brought on by the locking of lips. It's like a wave of emotion that gets unleashed each and every time you make love to me. It's the residual effect that permeates that makes me know finding you was fate. Yo, that was lit. I like it. I wrote that back in 2013. And you know what? I'm going to read emotions as well. I'm giving you 2 poems today because I'm a nice guy. You know what I mean? After all, somebody out there might be PMSing and they might need 2 poems today, not one. All right, so we read emotions, emotional. We're gonna read emotions. And emotions, I remember writing emotions. Emotions is a poem I wanted to write with using least amount of words as possible to convey the meaning. So I just wrote a whole bunch of emotions, kind of set them up a particular way so that it flows. And here goes. The words, the feeling, the vibes, the meaning, the staring, the looking, the sweet, smooth talking, the missing, the longing, the wanting, the yearning, up all night, no sleeping, anticipation steadily rising, the thoughts, the thinking, the fuzzy, warm feeling, the guessing, the knowing, these feelings overflowing, the petting, the touching, the hugging, the kissing, caressing and stroking, the heartbeat thumping, the bumping, the grinding, the sweating, the wetting, the sucking, the riding, orgasms on timing, the cooling, the calming, recouping, relaxing, the drinks, the sipping, do over, rewinding. And there goes the book as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Evelyn People Show. I'm your host, Martin Matthews. And boy, do I hope you enjoy the show. Join me next week again. Like, subscribe if you have not yet. If you don't have a copy of the book, Love, Life, Confrontation, Expressions, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man, available in Fontana Pharmacies in Jamaica, available worldwide on Amazon.com. And like I said, it's always a pleasure having y'all. For the people that checked in today that I don't usually have checking in, I sure do appreciate y'all. And I hope I see you next week when we'll have some more shenanigans that we'll get into. But until then, I say peace out, my peoples.